we go. Oh, okay. I have tried to record this coming back video. Just a sec. It's bright. So many times. I can't even tell you. So I'm going old school and we're in the car. We're driving to work. And today is June 21st. So I am teaching summer school, which is why we're driving to work. My son back here, he goes to, it's a different program because I do ESY with the special ed department, and he's doing summer school through the gen ed side. So we're on our way. But like I said, and I might throw in a few clips here and there of like what I have recorded, because I've tried so much to record this like coming back video, and I don't know, like just something is holding me back. So updating, this past school year was a doozy, and that's not necessarily in a bad way, it just was a doozy. So last summer, like this is how far I haven't updated you guys. So last summer, like the last day of July, so July 31st, we got into a car accident. And so my brand new car, my Honda CR-V, it got totaled. Like, it wasn't our fault. Somebody turned out in front of us and everything, but we got into a car accident and the car was totaled. I ended up, after the car accident, being transported by ambulance to the hospital because my neck was hurting. I was having major abdominal pain. I was having a hard time breathing. Granted, I think that was because I was having a panic attack. And I also broke my hand. So that was the worst of it. Like, I was the worst of everyone, and all three of my kids were in the car, and the other driver had her two kids in the car. And so I'm thankful that that was the worst of it, was me having a panic attack and breaking my hand. Like, blessings right there. Oh, I'm gonna be here for a while. So that happened, and like a month or like 2 months before that is when I had the miscarriage, my third miscarriage. And so like it was just a really hard summer, and so I wasn't vlogging because it was just really hard emotionally, and I was not in a good mental health place. And that's kind of what happened this past school year, and honestly I'm still not in a good mental health place. I told my husband I didn't want a human today. Like, I didn't want to get out of bed. I was supposed to take a shower this morning, and I could not physically get myself to get out of bed to even take a shower. So to make up for that, I put on makeup. Which you might be like, well, isn't it easier to take a shower than put on makeup? Maybe, yeah, but things don't make sense in my head right now. Like, things just don't make sense. So that's that. I'm like waiting to go. There's this car. Just like, guys, I'm trying to turn left, and this is not a good street to be turning left on. So that's kind of what happened this past school year. Is like, mental health wise, I was not okay. And to add on top of that, after the car accident, like a couple weeks after the car accident, I found out I was pregnant again. And so really I was not in a good headspace because I had just lost another pregnancy, got into a car accident, so driving and being in cars was not good for me. I was moving to a new school, there was just so many changes, and to throw on top of that, my first year at this new school, my second year teaching, I ended up being pregnant again. And I knew I didn't have the sick days or anything to take off a lot of maternity leave, and so I was like stressing the entire year about that. And so anyway, I was due in April. So I was supposed to be due April 29th. And I'll kind of get into all of that. So starting off the school year, I mean, the school year was really good. I love my students, which is one reason why I'm like, yeah, I'll do ESY for special ed, because, you know, my students like are awesome and I love them. And I learned so much this past school year, and I grew so much this past school year. That is one reason, because I have an amazing mentor teacher that is in the same classroom as me, which also got transferred to our new school after like 20 some odd years at her older school. She got transferred to the school that I'm at, so we were both, it was our first year there, so we were working out a lot of kinks with that. But like, I was respected and I was valued. I was a valued team member, and that was something I never truly felt at the high school. I never truly felt like a valued team member at the high school that I was at. But I felt that here, and to the point like people were really depending on me and coming to me for advice and stuff like that for students that don't even have IEPs and stuff like that. They were just needing advice and guidance, which I'm more than willing to give, kind of a thing. So I'm spending the whole year, I'm pregnant, I'm learning a ton, and again, mental health wise, I still was not doing good. I was having really bad anxiety days, and it wasn't good. And over the summer, my OB put me on some anxiety medication, and I set up an appointment with a psychologist, trying to figure things out. And sadly, with the psychologist, I was finally able to see that I set the appointment before the school year started. I was finally able to see him 2 weeks ago. That's how far out the psychologist was booked. Like, that's ridiculous. That's crazy. So my OB put me on some anxiety medication because with the pregnancy, my blood pressure was high and it was just a lot of anxiety stuff going on. And so he also put me on this blood pressure medication because it was so high. But that blood pressure medication, it was making me shaky the entire school day. And so by the time I got home, I was so exhausted from the teaching, the mental strain of everything, and the literal shaking all day that I just crashed. I would fall asleep as soon as I got home. And I talked to my doctor and I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, this isn't a way to live. Like, I literally get up, I go to work, I come home, I sleep. Like, I literally can't do anything. And so he took me off the blood pressure medication, and that helped a bit. I was pretty nauseous the first trimester, and I thought after the first trimester things would look up for me pregnant wise. My blood pressure was still borderline high like the entire time, and however, starting in like January, like I said, it wasn't due until like April 29th. So I talked to my doctor and I was like, hey, is there any way that I can schedule an induction? Because like I was having this fear of going into spontaneous labor at work, because I was planning on working to the day that I was in labor, because again, I did not have the time to just take off extra time. And so I asked if I could schedule an induction, and he goes, yeah, we could do that. Oh, so I was due on the 21st, not the 29th, the 21st. And he's like, yeah, and he's like, we can go, you know, just a week early if you want, which was really nice because that would make me do the Monday after spring break, which would have given me all of spring break to get things done and prep for the baby. And then I was going to take that first day off of spring break, take that rest of the month off, and then go back. So I was only going to take like 3 weeks off. Okay, so I really was not a lot of time that I was going to take. And so we thought, hey, the 12th, because it would have been April 12th that she would have been born. She is a girl. Her name is Megan. So it would have been the 12th, which would have been cool, because that would have meant that I have 2 kids who were born on the 1st of a month, and then I would have 2 kids that were born on the 12th of a month, and so it was just really cool and awesome. But then there were some other plans. My blood pressure was not going down, it was actually going up, and I was starting to like see spots and all sorts of fun things, and so I ended up getting preeclampsia. And it was mild, but it was still preeclampsia, and so he was like, I'm going to schedule you for an induction at 37 weeks. And 37 weeks was March 29th. And that is a big like date in my life, like a high anxiety date in my life. That is the day that my mother passed away, and I'm the one that found my mother. And so that's just a traumatic day, and the thought of giving birth on a traumatic day was both unnerving and somewhat healing at the same time. Like it was weird. And I was planning on working right up until that day. Well, it got to the point I couldn't even walk anymore, and I was having contractions for like a month. They were steady, they were painful, and so I ended up having to take the week off prior to my induction because I literally could not walk anymore. I had my ligaments like loosened so much I just could not walk. And I know this is sounding more like a pregnancy thing and not teaching, but like with the teaching, like it was hard. Everything was just hard at that time. And so I ended up having to take an extra week off. Luckily, I was able to have a really awesome maternity sub, and she might come back and work as an aide for us next year, and I'm super excited about that because she was awesome. I hope she doesn't, and that's just because I hope that she gets a job because she just graduated with her degree in special education. So I want her to just have her own teaching classroom because she would be amazing. But it took a lot of the worry out of me going on maternity leave having her there. So I ended up taking the week off before I had my baby on March 29th. Like I said, her name is Megan. She is perfect and beautiful and awesome, and I might insert a clip of me like showing you guys her because I was doing a haul video for Erin Condren, and I showed you guys in that. That's, like I said, a previous thing. So then I go back to work, and the first day back I had a student like run, like elope out of the building, and we ended up having to call cops trying to find him. I worked with him in the past but without an IEP, and so he finally got his IEP behavior plan while I was on maternity leave, and this was my first day back. I hadn't even had time to look at the IEP and read it and figure out what the plan was, and he eloped. And so I felt just discombobulated and everything, and I ended up reaching out to my coach, and just all this stuff happened. There was a lot of like miscommunication, and I don't want to say not understanding, but just like lines were crossed, and I was already just really anxious about everything because I just come back from work and I came back way too soon. But we got that all sorted out, kind of a thing with the behavior plan and me understanding what was going on and stuff like that. So thankfully all that got sorted out, but it was a rough like week or so. Which brings me kind of to the end of the school year. Like I came back and I taught for 3 weeks, and then like it was the end of the school year. And like I said, it was a great year. It really was. It was a great year. I learned tons, and I wish I could go into like more detail, and I might have to sit down and do a different video on that, but this is kind of like a whole like life, like why have I been gone. So kind of jumping into, so I had my psychologist appointment a couple weeks ago, and I have been diagnosed with things, and none of them are shockers to me. I have generalized anxiety. It's pretty bad. He upped my medication, which for some reason upping my medication has made my anxiety like 10 times worse. Like I said, I didn't even want a human today. Like it's bad. Like I feel like I'm gonna vomit fear constantly. Like I'm forcing myself to do things, but it really is debilitating. Like this is difficult. And then I have major depression, and I also have PTSD. And so, like I said, he upped my prescription. He gave me some numbers to call for therapists. I just haven't had time to call. And that's like another like huge fear of mine is therapists. So I'm hoping today I could kind of jump that hurdle and call one and try to get in to see somebody, because this isn't working. This is not working for me. So that's kind of what's going on. I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing summer school. And that's partly, like, one, I'm doing it because I love my students and they're rock stars and I wanted to be the one teaching them in the summer, not like I'm a control freak and so I don't want to give them to another person to work with. But also because it will help make up for some of that maternity leave that I ended up losing, because I ended up taking a lot more maternity leave than I was originally planning on because of the preeclampsia and because of the fact that I literally could not move anymore. So there's that. That is pretty much all that really like has happened. Like I said, I can't even explain this last school year. I learned so much and I can't even express to you all that I learned. Like, it was more than just like learning different programs to use and stuff like that. Like I learned about initial IEPs and how to run those, and the process of actually getting a student onto an IEP, and the process of a student being exited from an IEP, because I was able to exit 2 students from resources past year, which is super exciting when they're able to exit, because that means they are on grade level and they are working so amazingly in things, and like working with students that like couldn't even read at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. I mean, they're not super great awesome readers yet, but they're reading, which is, at the beginning of the year they had a hard time recognizing even all their letters. And it's just, it's so rewarding. And that's not to say that the high school wasn't rewarding. Like, that was rewarding on like a different aspect, like the students were getting it and things like that, but it was more rewarding because of like the personal growth that I saw in students, and not necessarily the educational growth. Like I said, there was a lot of educational growth at the high school level, but I saw more maturing and life lesson type of growth at the high school. And I love both of those aspects, and so I love the high school for reasons and I love the elementary school for reasons. Something that was really difficult this year is I moved all of my kids to the school that I'm working at, because it just didn't make sense for them to go to one school and me working at a different elementary school, and might as well just all be in the same place. And so that was really difficult for my oldest, who was autistic, for him to make that transition. And still really, like, he has a really hard time with it. My other 2 kids, they adapt pretty quickly to things. Mr. Social Butterfly back here, he can make friends anywhere. So, but my oldest, it was really hard, and so he started seeing the counselor at school, and that has helped. And they set him up with a therapist that came to the building during the school year, and so that kind of helped. But there's just a lot of, it opened my eyes really to my oldest's social issues, I guess you could say, and what we really need to work on and what to focus on with his IEP, because he is on an IEP in the speech language, more the language aspect of things, not necessarily like articulation, but social language. And so it's really opened up my eyes on like what we need to work on with him. So, but I am almost at the school. I'm going to upload this. Like, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna edit this, I'm gonna upload this. Welcome back. And I'm hoping, don't hold me on it right now, because like I said, I'm still not good in a good mental health place right now, but I'm gonna do what I can, because there's so much other things that I want to talk to you guys about, like the fact that I am in the process of opening up a sticker shop on Etsy for planners, and I'm going, like, learning how to use Photoshop to do things and stuff like that. For those of you who are in school or are special ed teachers, I'm trying a new way of collecting data this year, which is through Google Forms. And so after I get that all set up, and I'm gonna test it out during summer school, I'll have to go through with you guys. And it's not my idea. I saw it on this Facebook group. It's called The Resource Room. And the creator is, I think her name's Amanda Whip. And people were like asking about progress monitoring and data collection, and somebody said that they use Google Forms, and so I YouTubed it, and then I found something on top of the Google Forms on YouTube that they use this like Google add-on that generates PDFs to send out to people. So like, oh, I can like put the parent's email onto this generated PDF file, and so every single week that I do progress monitoring and I send it out, they will get an update of how their student is doing. And so it's like a weekly update pretty much. And I was like, that would be cool. So as soon as I get all that figured out and get all those kinks handled, I will show you guys how I'm doing that. But like I said, I'm here at the school, so I'm gonna let you guys go, and I will talk to you guys in another video. Bye.